Join me in welcoming Dr. Tom Padilla. Hey, Tom, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us today. First off, tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
So my name is Dr. Tom Padilla. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I own a clinic called the Doctors of Physical Therapy, where we just help patients overcome back pain, hip pain, other chronic issues without surgery. Basically, our mission is there's a lot of false belief out there that surgery is the only way, that injections and pills are the only way that people can get better. So the way that I show up is just I bring everything I need to impart healing and to help people understand that there are options out there other than those options. On the family side, I'm married. I have a wife and a son and two twins on the way. So I try to balance the energy, and they're twin girls, by the way. So I try to balance the energy of what I've got to do in my day to day with the demands of having a growing active family.
Absolutely. And your book is called Solving the Root Cause of Pain: Uncover the True Source of Your Physical Pain and Get Back to an Active Lifestyle Without Painkillers or Surgery. You told us a little bit about your background, but tell us a little bit more about the kind of stuff that you do in your practice on a regular daily basis.
Absolutely. Well, I think what confuses most people is that not all physical therapy is the same. A lot of people feel like, oh, if I've tried physical therapy before and it didn't work, then physical therapy doesn't work. But the truth is that kind of like if you watch one of those cooking shows and they give the chefs all the same amount of time and the same ingredients, you're going to come out with different qualities of meal, different meals are going to taste differently, and that's the same in physical therapy. So really, when we think of physical medicine, we all have the same tools. It's our understanding of the tools and how we implement those that end up getting wildly different outcomes. Where in most clinics, people get only 30% of people ever finish the plan of care they start, while in ours, 90% finish. And a lot of people like to look at that and say, well, that's just people being lazy or people not wanting to comply with physical therapy. And we look at that and we say, well, it's actually most likely because those people weren't seeing the value in what they were getting and they weren't getting any better. And that's really the consensus. By the time a lot of people come to see us, they've been to 5 or 6 other physical therapists without seeing any results. And they've tried a bunch of different things. And we're kind of that last resort. And what we do that's different is we're not just looking at tight muscles and stretching them or massaging them. And we're not just looking at weak muscles and strengthening them. What all the research shows, when you take brain scans and imaging of people's brains, when they have these chronic issues, the way that their body moves and the muscles that their brain chooses to use to produce certain movements has become disorganized and incorrect. And what we do is we focus on fixing those patterns in the brain first. And when we can get the brain to cooperate and activate the right muscles at the right time in the right order, a lot of these other things that like the tight muscles, the stiff joints, the irritated discs and nerves, all these things start to heal on their own. And then we can really, because we've laid that foundation at the neuroplastic level, at the brain, then they actually start to see long-term results. And in that way, we can take someone who's got, back pain, hip pain, knee pain, foot pain, and all these things where traditional Western medicine is going to look at each of those as a separate instance. We're going to take a step back and look at the body as a whole and figure out the neural patterns that are leading to these. And these 4 different pains could all be coming just symptoms of one nervous system issue in which the brain is moving the body incorrectly. So really, it's a combination of different things, but truly it's the understanding that what we're impacting at first is the brain. And then once you've got that down, you can actually address the structures, which are where most people start and why most people only get short-term relief.
So, what is the difference for people who don't know? What is the difference between a physical therapist, a chiropractor, and more of a like naturopath kind of a person with the way you described it?
It's a good question. I think that there's a lot of confusion because most practitioners have all the tools at their disposal. You will have chiropractors that bill for physical therapy or say that they're doing physical therapy on someone, and really all it is they just have someone doing a couple movements. On the physical therapist side of thing, we can manipulate joints and do that sort of thing, just like in the spine, just like a chiropractor can. And then when you've got naturopaths, they tend to focus on more holistic solutions, and you've got a spectrum of naturopathy. Some only go holistic and only will prescribe medicines, herbs, supplements, that kind of thing. Others will go all the way up to, and they can prescribe the same things that a medical doctor can prescribe in a lot of states. It just depends on the state that you live in, actually. So you've got a spectrum of naturopathy, but they're more dealing with the supplementation. Where the difference really occurs, as far as my understanding, what I coach our patients on is that with physical therapists, we are concerned about, okay, let's say we have manipulated a joint. Okay. So like a chiropractic type manipulation. Well, what we want to do to make sure that that is actually maintained is do movements that teach the brain how to use the new range of motion from the joints or the muscles so that it doesn't go back to restricting it. And that's not all physical therapists, though. As I kind of said before, a lot of physical therapists will focus on stretching and different things like that. But the true difference in any of this is having a practitioner that understands that, yes, muscles are restricted, yes, joints are restricted, but what's the story that your body's telling as a whole? And naturopathic remedies might be a part of that solution as well. But having someone who can kind of quarterback the thing is really where it's at, because it's not making the right choice in a single provider. It's having the right team around you who can actually come out with a holistic approach, and having one of those team members be able to kind of oversee the variables that you've got going on in your treatment plan, and making the right conclusions as to what's working or not.
So if I understand you correctly, and totally correct me if I'm wrong, but your practice, at least, you're almost like putting a chiropractor and a naturopath and what most of us think of when we think of an occupational physical therapist, all three into the same place, and approaching it from all those standpoints, with the possible exception of just throwing medications at them.
Absolutely. Well, and fortunately, we can't prescribe medications. So, we've figured out how to do things with our hands and the person's body and things like that. And I think kind of your question gets at one of the key issues in medicine, which is that everyone's operating in a silo. So there's such a thing as over specialization, where, okay, we'll take the spine, and we'll take the hip, and we'll take the knee. But the problem is all these things interact and move together. So yes, it's kind of like combining what these things are, but at the same time, it's also just getting back to what's true, which is you've got one body, it's a system, everything interacts together. The more we can understand about that system, that's true medicine.
So, in a lot of ways, and I know one of the things you cover in the book is it's almost like your approach to medicine is to be a detective, and that's why I love the word uncover. You want to discover what it is that is actually causing the issue, and then actually really solve that issue, rather than, just have this lane that you go down. Everybody lays on the thing and gets their spine adjusted, or does 10 minutes on the on the recumbent bike, or I mean, whatever particular specialty it is that a good way of looking at it?
Yeah, you need to be able to do a couple things. Control your variables so that you know what's working or what's not working. You need to know how long it should take to have the changes that you're trying to have. So one story that I share in the book is about when I was first starting my practice, and I was working per diem at another place while I was getting this going. And there was a patient who had been coming there for about 6 weeks, and I overheard a conversation between her and another therapist, of the person who was overseeing her case. And she said something to the lines of, "Hey, I've been coming for the last 6 weeks. I've been doing these exercises pretty diligently. They're the same exercises every single time I come. When am I supposed to start feeling better?" And the therapist looked at her, and she just said, "Well, it just takes time." And that's really insufficient in medicine, because how much time is it supposed to take? How do you know if you're going the right direction? When it comes to the inflammatory cycle, pain should reduce in as little as 2 weeks if we're doing the right things. And if it hasn't, we need to play detective, as you said, and figure out why it hasn't. And unless we have those baseline timelines and metrics established and we're adhering to them, then people will drop off. That lady probably didn't go back to see that therapist, for much longer, and that therapist is going to then look and say, well, she dropped off, so of course she didn't get better. She didn't complete her program. So that's kind of how it is in medicine. And I do preach to my patients and clients that anything that you have to do over and over just to feel a certain way is really a band-aid solution. You shouldn't end up needing to rely on a provider in order to be pain-free. Once you become pain-free, you should also have the tools, and if that provider is good at what they do, where they can show you how to maintain that. But it shouldn't be that classic story of, people have to go to the chiropractor weekly or every other week for the rest of their lives just to feel like they are above baseline. That shows you that something in the body isn't holding. Those symptoms keep returning for a reason.
So, of course, obviously anybody that lives in the Scottsdale area, they should just come to your office. But for people who, live on the other side of the world or whatever, and they're getting your book, which they can, by the way, get for free today if they'd like in the ebook form. Are there some solutions that you're offering in the book, or are there ways that you can help them remotely?
So we do have ways to help people remotely, depending on where they live. We have telemedicine options or telefitness options for people. That tends to be people across the states. For people who are outside the country, they can still opt into our website and different ebooks and information that we have on reducing pain immediately for different pain points that they have. And we're going to be coming out with online courses over the next several months and years, so that people can actually access this in evergreen format. And while a course is finite and can't necessarily help each individual 100%, what we're finding through our application of things online is that even if you can't lay your hands on someone, the basics of the foundation that we lay and the analysis that we do can help someone to be able to get a big percentage better, even without needing to be in person. And so when somebody subscribes or reaches out to us over email, we can get them on a list to be first notified when things like that become available. And the other thing that we're doing, especially in the States, is we are starting practitioner training. So one of my missions has been to be able to spread the approach that we have to as many people as possible. So what we did was we took the approach that we have in-house and we created a continuing education course for practitioners. And we're going to be inviting those practitioners from all over the States, all over the world to come take the course and learn about our methods and applications. So hopefully in the next 5, 10, 15 years, people who are looking for treatment will actually have someone in their neighborhood who's able to implement these methods that we have.
I absolutely love that. Well, you mentioned it. Tell us, what is the URL? Where can people go to get that information?
So we've got two. So my professional URL is drtompadilla.com. Padilla is spelled P-A-D as in David, I-L-L-A. And that's where you can sign up to get further information on the book outside of Amazon and information on courses that we offer and things like that. As far as downloadable items that can help with hip pain, back pain, knee pain, sciatica, shoulder pain, etc., they can go to my company's website, which is thedoctorsofpt.com. That's doctors plural, and they can download those there.
I love it. Well, before I let you go, give us some words of encouragement. I know there's a lot of people that are discouraged about, especially long-term physical pain that they've been dealing with. Give some words of encouragement that it is actually possible to rewrite those neural pathways and physical movements and get better.
Absolutely. So, I mean, even if you just go and Google the name of my company, the Doctors of Physical Therapy, and you look at our Google reviews, you're going to see people on there that are writing testimonials about how they've had back pain, hip pain, sciatica, other chronic issues for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And they're now feeling better than ever. So just because you've had pain for any duration of time, it does make it a little more difficult to figure out if it's been longer or if you're of certain age groups and things like that. But it doesn't mean that you can't get substantially better and actually get more out of your life. I think that we can all agree that quantity of life, so the number of years that you live, is not as important as quality of life, and having an actual high level of activity and quality and in your life that you can actually enjoy it for as long as you live. So I think the biggest thing that we stress in the book, and I do give these tips in the book, about how to find the right provider and how to know if you have the right provider, because that's a big key in a lot of this, is not necessarily having someone with my specific approach even per se, but someone who's willing and able to troubleshoot and to recognize when they're going the right direction and not give answers like that story that I told earlier of like, it just takes time. And I think that's the biggest skill set, is being able to discern who you're going to work with and how you are going to work together to achieve the results that you want. And when you read the book, you'll also be able to then have the knowledge to interview people about their abilities and their knowledge around being able to fix these neural patterns, because I do put it in a way that the layman can understand, so that they can actually talk to providers and make sure that they find the right one.
And the book is called Solving the Root Cause of Pain. You can get the ebook today for free on Amazon. The link for that is down in the comments as well as up in the description. Either way, Dr. Tom, I appreciate so much what you're doing in the world. Thanks so much for being a guest with us here on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.